The small self or the ego is always seeking to be ready. And what this chapter is calling you to is to relate as your full potential in the moment, based, of course, this is the last chapter of the book, based upon the work that you've done using the book and the other disciplines that you're involved in. But you're relating as that all the time. That becomes the basis for your awakened relationships and your life.
Really fascinating. Also, the introduction is almost like telling the future of the reader, where you can go, how far you can go. It's like it's talking about enlightened communication, about awakened relationship, about everything which is eventually coming to life by itself.
Right. And that was one of the goals, actually. That's probably why the introduction is actually quite long, is I really wanted to, because I love when I read a book, when the author tells me what he's going to tell me. Because in a way, what I do is I kind of create like these different, let's say, holders, or these baby structures in consciousness, and I'm waiting for them to be filled up as I read the book. So if he tells me or she tells me, I'm going to tell you about this, 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 and this in the book, I'm already preparing my awareness to receive this information, and I really love that. And then of course I'm searching in the book as I'm going through to see, where is this information and how well they related. But I think that's why I wanted to kind of tease the reader with what's possible if they can struggle through the 450 pages.
Yeah, especially if it's somebody who is new to the whole thing, and because what is coming at the end and what is introduced in the introduction is are things that you can find it hard to believe that it's possible. You're talking about a relationship without personal conflict. You're talking about awakened relationship that is the future of humanity, and a person who is not who haven't been there yet find it. This guy is talking about heaven, about utopia, something which is not possible. But we arrive to chapter 12, and we see that actually is more than possible. It is something that grows out of you alone if you just want and do what is necessary to let it happen.
It's directly related to the degree to which individual consciousness engaged with the previous 11 chapters. So it begins with the subjective consciousness reading the first 11 chapters, engaging to whatever degree, and then meeting somebody else who has read the book or studied, any of the theories, who's also an awakened person from a different path, and instantly you have a spontaneous awakening of that relationship. There's nothing to do. You don't have to do anything. It's there for you. My favorite teaching on this, of course, is Andrew Cohen's and what he terms the authentic self, which is the inner subject, the we space, the awakened we space, right? So you step into that. You temporarily drop identity with the limited self, and the basis for the relationship becomes something grander than the relationship itself, the personal preferences in the relationship. It becomes a relationship that's formed for the sake of humanity, that of course emerges as one of our favorite terms, right, as conscious service. Service in the, or let's say action in the service of others.
Because everybody, I'm trying to think if the word everybody is right, but I think yes, everybody wants to be better. I cannot understand. Yeah, of course, everybody wants to be better.
I agree. You're right. I mean, everyone intuits oneness, right? We all have we all come from consciousness, right? We're all somehow, I mean, even when we sleep, right, at nighttime, we'll drop back into a deep dreamless sleep. Yeah, deep dreamless sleep. And that's a part of our day where nothing bothers us. Nothing bothers us. Not even emptiness. Right? Not let alone our you know our let's say our busy human lives. We're not bothered by, we're also not bothered by the fact that there's no thing in deep dreamless sleep, even though we're not aware of it. We all are immersed into consciousness every day. So we intuit this, but it all depends on where our awareness is and how conditioned we are and how aware we are of our conditioning, and conditioning overt and conditioning concealed, and also how well we can objectify the thinking mind, how well we can objectify our emotions as they're passing by, how well we can distinguish between inauthentic emotions, shadow, and also authentic emotions, how clear we are about our values, what our motives are, especially in regard to relationships. So you see, all this cleaning is all this cleaning work of consciousness, and it's allowing us to objectify almost the entire human experience on the way up, till you bump into somebody who's also done the same work. Like, for instance, when you have a conversation with Jessica Romisher from Piano Beautiful, right? It's the same thing with me. It takes 5 minutes.
And it's coming, is no effort.
It's amazing. And it's not that it's personal, but it's this space spontaneously emerges, right? This is an awakened we space. You said in the introduction, right, the possibility of a long-term personal and intimate relationship that's completely free from emotional and psychological suffering. And then I bring up the point again in the Awakened Relationship chapter, and this last chapter, the sections on the Awakened Relationship, actually show how that's possible and what that means for the future of humanity. Every level of development produces its own pathologies. It has its own advancements, and it has its own pathologies. So if we're intent on resolving some of these issues and moving into the next level of development collectively, part of that movement is going to include doing so with relationships that have a different basis than the relationships that created the problem. If we try to cure what ails us in this world with those old types of relationships, those relationships that are based in the separate sense of self, based in ego, based in shadow, it's just not going to happen. So not only do we have to apply different tools, but we also have to apply a different we space. We have to learn how to interact differently, or let's say, yeah, we need to learn how to come together in a different way. And out of that union will emerge solutions to these problems, which will get us to the next level.
If we are not corrupted on the way, we are pure.
I think what we see now, it's consciousness waking up to itself, waking up to how it's been conditioned or corrupted, as you were saying, and then seeing itself in another person, in another human being, and being able to relate to itself in another human being, and also to allow itself to evolve. I know we're speaking about consciousness as an object here, but I mean, there's no other way to do it, really. To allow itself to evolve as that we space. And you're right, it's beginning to shift culture, or create maybe a new culture. And we're going to see something like what happened in the 60s with the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, that we're going to see that happening, but in regard to an integral level of consciousness, or at least a whole new way of perceiving the human experience is going to spontaneously emerge because of the numbers of people who are becoming aware of what we're talking about here.
When you evolve and you are understand what conditioning is and how people are growing into into a situation and being conditioned, then you can become compassion and to those who brought you into this conditioning, and understand that they were also in a place
Absolutely.
where they were acting from and being conditioned because of their past. So it gives you, you can forgive them and go forward.
That's the word that was coming to mind, right? Right. It even allows you to forgive them at a much deeper level than just saying, pop, dad, mom, whoever, right? I forgive you. It's different because now you actually understand why you can forgive them and why that they were absolutely not to blame.
You were climbing to where you are now with their help. They were climbing before you from somewhere else, and we are like we know the evolution will not stop tomorrow. We are going to be we are going to be away. We shall go away sooner or later, and those that follow us will go forward from where we left them.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will, and they will understand, like we understand now, and will forgive us for our mistakes, which is nice to know. I mean,
I think that's also in the Bible, right? But it's in the New Testament. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do.
Is it beautiful?
Isn't that lovely?
You also see the beauty of all those those traditions who were created thousands of years and were putting together so much wisdom that now we can see it from a higher level of development and distinguish and take, because the past, if we want to go to the future, we need a base, and the base is coming from the past.
Right.
We cannot come from zero. The past is not to be cancelled.
Right, and as Ken and every other developmental psychologist will tell us, right, we all have to evolve through these stages. You can't skip a stage, but the idea is that we can speed through them. Right, we speed through, like, let's just use the spiral dynamics model, which is the simplest and most accessible model for looking at levels of development. We speed through beige and those survival levels into red, and another thing we can honor the traditions for is for imposing order, right? The order that's imposed by religious structures is critical, and it still is. It's still critical in this world, that level of development. It basically holds those people in place and gives them a reason for being, and that's fine. I mean, you and I probably went through something similar. But as you were saying, we're coming out on top of that. So we're stepping on the shoulders of organized religions and then going beyond that into the orange meme, self-power and money, and then going on into green and pluralism and all of that new age movement, and then stepping on those shoulders up into second-tier perspectives that we're talking about here and awakened relationships.
And we can see something very encouraging happening lately, and our friend Ken Wilber, we're talking about it as well. We can see religious leaders from different religions coming together and talking, and find the language to talk.
Right, and I think something else that's coming out of that, let's say, that mutual understanding between the different religions is to bring home the fact that the future of humanity in a huge way is actually in the hands of those religious leaders, simply because 70% of the world's population adheres to some form of a mythic religion. We have these 5 or 6 major world structures, major belief systems that, of course, all have common sources and are saying very similar things. But the leaders of those groups, the hierarchy there.
Natural hierarchy is coming out of, is something that emerges also by itself when people are having awakened relationship. And the natural hierarchy is the hierarchy. The one who is more evolved is the one who is leading the group.
Right, as opposed to what we normally see is called unnatural hierarchy, where the person with the most power or the best connections or the most money is the one who's in charge, or the person with the biggest army, right, is the one who's in charge, which is, let's say it's been fine up to this point, but we can see the trouble that it has been bringing us. Besides the fact that the basis for awakened relationships have something to do with the other, have something to do with the evolution of culture, not just the evolution of individual consciousness, but the evolution of culture. Besides the fact that they're absolutely and completely free from emotional and psychological suffering and the manifestations of shadow, etc., there's also what we were just talking about, a natural hierarchy appears in a group. Now, the beautiful thing is that hierarchy can naturally change depending on the evolution of individual consciousness of each member of that group. Because the reason that it's so fluid is that the goal of the relationship is not personal anymore. It's not about the limited self. It's not about the shadow. It's not about getting for me, right? The goal of the relationship, of the group, right, 2 people or more, has to do with the evolution of culture. So then the hierarchy can change quite easily depending on the evolution of consciousness in an individual. We're also not implying that everybody who reads the book is going to go and become, a hardworking humanitarian. Like, this is the beautiful thing about this integral work, is that it can be in any aspect of your life. Any aspect of your life. We're not asking anybody to be a superhero. Not that who's a superhero. There's 5 of them in the whole world, okay, and 2 of them are not here. So we're asking people to just use this work in their own relationships and begin right there. And it just relieves so much unnecessary burden. And then if there are children, if children are a product of that relationship, then you begin to see these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, even younger, grabbing hold of this essence or this let's say this peace that they experienced in the relationship between parents, or the relationship between parents and their peers, if it's only a single parent situation. They just intuitively pick up on this. And that's the generation, because as you were saying so rightly so there, Eagle, they're stepping on our shoulders, right? Sooner or later we'll be gone, and they'll be left behind, and they're going to step on top of us and keep moving on. So this generation, or at least this during this time, it's a huge responsibility. It's a huge responsibility that we have.
And we are so happy to take it. We are so happy to take it. Those people who are still listening to us now, so me and Mick are very happy to have you as partners for bringing the evolution forward. And I am so happy and thankful for Mick for giving his time and his experience and sharing it with me and with my family, because they are influenced as well, and with everybody. And so, Mick, so much thank you very much.
Thank you, Eagle, for putting forth the whole idea and setting up all the technology. And I know your websites are evolving, and as our work here in Guatemala is also evolving. So there's lots of things. It's been a huge year. If you think back to where both of us were, well, including Deborah, like a year ago, it's been such a huge change. So we're actually consciously now co-creating the future.
Right.